Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. And we have an amazing storyteller. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Lior, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Well, now after this conference, I'm quiet. I'm truly, it was inspiring, a lot of nice talks.
Yes.
But my head is full, so it will take me a few days to process.
Yeah, but did you enjoy the city, the conference?
I have seen very little of the city, so tomorrow I have time, tonight, then I will discover. Have you been to the city already?
Yeah.
Well, you live also in Sweden,
yes,
right?
Yes.
I liked it. The conference was really well produced, and the speakers and the sessions were really interesting. So, and the most value I got, of course, is speaking with the people while having coffee.
Yeah.
In between the sessions, of course, but that's always right.
Yes. But you had a session in the conference?
Yeah. So I was coordinating a session about mobility in districts, and I was also speaking in another session about participation.
Yeah. And now you're doing a podcast.
And I'm doing a podcast.
So much energy.
It's very 2022 to have a podcast.
So you are our storyteller. Tell us about you. How would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your passion?
So you want the short or the long?
Long, with details.
My name is Lior Steinberg. I'm an urban planner, very short. And I'm originally from Tel Aviv, but I live in Europe already for over 10 years. First Berlin, then Stockholm, and later the Netherlands, which is where I reside now. And I studied urban planning masters in Stockholm University. So very nice time in Sweden.
Yes.
Fell in love with Sweden. Could not find a housing, as most Swedish people know.
After graduating?
No, while studying, it was a mess. I found, of course, but I didn't see any chance of staying in Sweden because I already saw it is a ridiculous headache to enter the housing system.
Okay, yeah. You need to have money or like good salary.
Or really in queue for a long time, right?
Yeah, this is like forget about it.
Unless they register you when you are a baby.
Exactly.
Ridiculous system. So it actually was a big part of my decision to try other places.
Okay.
Just having no realistic option to live in Sweden. And then I went to the Netherlands and I found it very nice. And of course, I fell in love with cycling, and that's where I live, work from, and mostly having projects in. And a few years ago, I started Humankind, which back then was sort of just collaboration, but turned quite quickly into a company where we advise cities mostly and some governments on urban planning, urban design, public space, mobility, and in general, we like to call it urban change.
Okay. So, but is your focus more on mobility or no?
I started from mobility. I think a lot of urban planners, especially men, start from mobility. I don't know why, but I think it's always starts by trying to fix traffic. So you sit in traffic and you think, I can solve it. We just can build another lane and solve it. So I think that's where I started at.
Yeah.
Very quickly I discovered that, of course, it's impossible. Learning from Jane Jacobs and Jan Gehl, of course, which I saw you interviewed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard. Really nice. Then realizing that there is no difference between mobility and public space. It's the same thing. The other side of the two sides of the same coin. So you need to do both. And it's a challenge because most assignments you get are either from the mobility department or from the public space department.
Yeah,
and they also don't work with each other. So definitely it's very difficult for you as a consultant to do it. But I do both. I work with the municipality and I do both projects on the public space and for the mobility department, and sometimes even both on the same project.
How big is your team?
We are now 7 people.
Okay.
Well, with interns a little bit more, but we are actually expanding and shrinking according to situation and project.
Yes.
And depends actually where we work, because in all of our I don't think we've ever done a project solely by ourselves. We always had a partner or many partners or another company.
Yes.
And it depends also on the country we work at and the city we work with.
Yeah. So tell me more, because like what I want to talk with you about today is mobility and data storytelling, but also your new book. So we can start with the mobility and biking. Like, how do we change the behavior of people? Even sometimes, even here in Sweden, like we have infrastructure, we have bike lanes and everything, but still people don't want to bike. So how do we change this?
I think that we need to remember, and I think Corona is a good reminder, that we get used to everything. I mean, do you remember that? Well, maybe not in Sweden because you had a very particular. But I mean, in the Netherlands, you had to wear a mask, and 3 months ago or half a year ago, we stopped with that. And I cannot even imagine or remember we've ever wore masks. And in the time when we had to do it, it was such a normal thing. So it takes you a week to get used to change, I would say. I mean, maybe more, maybe less. But we are very adaptive creatures. So it is very difficult to hope that people will change their behaviors when they still easily can stick to the old way of doing things, right? So they have a car, for instance, and they can drive to the city, and it takes them 1 hour, and then you introduce maybe congestion pricing to try to reduce cars, but it's only €1. That's not going to change anything. Then you build a bike lane, so it makes the road a little bit more with more car congestion. So they will just stand in traffic for 20 more minutes. It wouldn't change anything. You need to have radical change and also radical other option. So it means if you want to move a lot of people from driving to cycling, it means that you need to have much better bike lanes, much better than the ones you have in Sweden, and you need to make driving at least less
like more difficult to drive, easier to bike.
Yeah. In the Netherlands, I'm not Dutch, so I can speak good about the Netherlands, right? So as an objective, the Netherlands people cycle not because they're good people or that they care about the environment. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. In every country you have people,
of course.
They do it because it's the most efficient thing to do.
Like saving time and comfortable.
Yeah, it's most cheap. It's the cheapest and the fastest way to get from your home to your work if you live in the same city. And if you will introduce a faster, easier, and cheaper way, Dutch people will do it. So if we will now say that cars are free, gas is free, and we will turn all bike lanes into roads, Dutch people will choose the car.
Makes sense because it's like for free and then faster.
And then if you will tell them, no, but you need to be good citizens and try to fit your bicycle through the road, it will not work. And I can say it for certain because Dutch people 40 years ago turned their cities from car-centric to bike-centric. So they also were in this problem and they were able to fix it.
Yeah. So you mean that if let's say in Sweden, if we see people, they don't bike, even if we have bike lines, it means that there's something wrong with the bike line and it's not fast and it's not cheap.
No, I say that either the bike lanes are not good. I haven't been to Sweden for a long time. Here in Helsingborg, they are decent still. Sometimes they just stop. So, for instance, a bike lane that just stops in the middle of the road is not a good bike lane.
Yeah, you mean not connected?
Not connected. So the bike network, your experience is as good as the weakest part as the weakest link.
Yeah.
So we never have a road that just stops on the way to work with a car, right? We never have a road that just stops and then the driver needs to leave the car, go around, enter back to the car. But we do have it for cycling.
True.
And you have it still in Sweden, in the Netherlands less. And the other thing is that I've never owned a car in Sweden, but I think it compared to the income of the average Swedish person, it's not that expensive.
No, it's very cheap. Not very cheap, but it's cheap because I owned before.
Yeah. So why would anyone, especially that it's a little bit cold, if they have a car outside of the house, why would they ever choose to use the bicycle? I mean, the car is quite affordable. Gas is not so expensive, especially compared to the salaries. Or the price of coffee. So I think so. The alternative is too cheap. It's too comfortable.
Yeah.
It's way too comfortable to sit in a car alone. Especially that most Swedish cities are not so congested.
Yeah.
So I think it's still way too easy to drive and not easy enough to cycle.
So what is your reaction when sometimes like it's a cultural problem?
What do you mean?
Like what I'm reading sometimes or talking with the traffic planners here in Sweden, they say, okay, but we fix the bike line, but still people like such, let's say a specific group of people or gender, they don't want to bike because it's a cultural problem or it's a cultural belief.
Yeah, I say, by the way, are you being a devil's advocate or that's your belief? I was just wondering.
No, I'm an advocate.
No, because I know that I don't need to convince you, right? But what I say to those people is, first of all, I mean, culture is a strong thing. I believe that culture plays a big role in the decisions of people. But take Sweden, for instance. I mean, it's a society that exists for thousands of years. I cannot imagine that an invention that was invented 100 years ago can really change a complete culture from A to Z. It has a big influence on society and the way people live, but it's definitely not part of culture. And that's true also, in the Netherlands, they say a lot of time, no, it's immigrants. They see the car as a status symbol. No, also immigrants came from countries that 100 years ago didn't have cars. So I think there is maybe some social aspect if you come from certain groups, but it's definitely not, I wouldn't call it culture. Definitely not hardcore culture.
Yeah.
And then to the traffic engineers, I would say, yeah, maybe you build one lane, but did you look at the street that leads to that lane? And did you check you build maybe a lane that you feel comfortable cycling on, but did you ask your mother if she can cycle on, or would you ever let your child cycle on a lane that goes next to a busy road? So yeah, sometimes it's easy to blame cultures, especially if it's not your culture. It's always easier to blame another culture, other culture, people who moved in recently, etc. And I think, unfortunately, people still do it instead of looking at their own projects and realizing, maybe you didn't, or maybe your project was perfect, but it's just such a small drop in the sea. One lane is amazing. I applaud everybody who builds one lane. It's way more than most traffic engineers ever done. But it's definitely not enough. You need a network. You need a safe network.
Yeah. But you also, let's talk about your book.
Yeah.
It's for kids.
Yeah.
And I love it. So tell me like the background. Why did you decide to write a book and why for kids?
Yeah. So we sat at the office at Humankind and we are looking at a huge bike lane, a huge bike track. Actually, it's a 4-meter wide bike track, and it's a new one in the middle of the city.
Okay.
And we saw a car stuck on it. And Joran, my partner at Humankind, he told me, "Look at this stupid car. I mean, it's stuck in the middle of the bike lane because it took the wrong turn. It's such a wide.
It's super big.
It's super big, so it looks like a car lane. That's how big it is. They got stuck, and all the Dutch cyclists around it were like angry at it. And then I thought, I mean, Joran, you should not judge this car. The car just wants to be a bicycle. And I thought that would be a beautiful book for children. And I remember when I was a child, I read only about cars. Then I checked with my sister and my niece and nephew, and all their books are about either machines or cars.
True, the same here. Like every time I want to buy something, I see like about a truck, fire car, like or I mean, still like some cars doing their job, but
yeah.
I mean,
But it's more, and that's why as kids we really love it. So then I thought, let's write a book about a car that wants to be a bike. It's also sort of a story about someone who doesn't feel good with their body and wants to change a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's also so that we should not judge the car, because the car maybe was created as a car but wants to be a bike. But then in general, it's also, and that was really important for me, also speaking with other urbanists and also some psychologists, is not to create a story where the car is the evil and the bike is the good. No, we needed cars. We still need sometimes cars. As you said, some cars like fire trucks are really important. Also, by the way, personal cars are
still even like personal. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if you live in a village in Sweden, we might not.
You have no choice.
No, you have no choice. And also, why should we invest so much money on a train? We can have a car. Maybe electric car is even better. It can also be shared. Yeah. But anyway, cars are fine.
Yeah.
Personal cars are also fine sometimes.
Sometimes, exactly.
And I think that it was just a story about a family that used the car because it was good, but then they discovered that the city is changing and they found cycling a really, really nice thing to do, and the car is jealous and tries to become a bike. So it has a good story. I don't want to spoil the end, but it has a good end. So don't worry, your child will not cry.
But is it in which language is this book?
So I wrote it in English just because I thought, that's the language that everybody understands. But of course, kids of 3 to 7 years old don't all understand English. The amazing thing is that I got so many pre-orders before I published it, just by publishing it on LinkedIn,
nice,
and Twitter. And I got a lot of volunteers asking me to translate
it.
So I have it already now, I think, almost in Portuguese, in Dutch, German, Spanish. I'm working now with an NGO to do it Arabic, and then I will do the Hebrew.
So we can put the link also for people to order it.
Yeah, it would be amazing. I have to say it's truly, you say it about, a lot of people say it about the work, but this is truly
nice.
Not a money maker. It's just about fun.
Nice. And how much does it cost?
It depends where you buy it, because they print it per order, and you get it within a week worldwide.
It's from Netherlands?
No, it depends where you order it. So
okay, so it's different.
Different locations to print it. So Amazon sells it for sometimes $17, sometimes more.
Are you getting rich with this?
I'm absolutely didn't even cover the cost of the
hours.
And I'm selling like hundreds of copies.
But it's coming. I think it's coming.
I don't think it's coming.
No?
I don't think it will.
No, you should think. You will be like Harry Potter author.
I wanted Disney to buy the rights for a film. That's my
But tell me, like, because many of the listeners, even me, like, we have interesting stories and we want like to write books and so on. So how was the methodology of you from getting the idea until you publish? Like, just explain to us so we just get more motivated.
Well, you produce a podcast every week for already years, so I don't need to tell you how to stick to a project. I mean, but it's like, do you get a lot of people asking you how to do a podcast?
Yeah.
And what is your answer?
Well, I do first like idea analysis, then research, then ask people who did it before me, and then.
My answer, if you want to write a book, I heard it in actually another podcast. Someone said that there are only 2 modes on writing a book. Either you write it or you don't write it. And I think that the majority of people
don't write it.
Don't write it. Just say, I'm writing a book, or I have an idea for a book.
Okay.
So what I did is that I had the idea. Children's book is quite easy to write. I mean, you need to think a lot, process it in your head. But it was basically I took 3 days off on a weekend, went to a cafe, sat in a cafe and wrote wrote the book, the script, and then I found online an amazing illustrator on a website called Fiverr. We never met, we never spoke on the phone, nor Skyped or anything, or Zoomed. We just chatted on a chat. We just chatted and emailed, and she made an illustration, and then you can go to a publisher and try to convince them. I don't want to convince anyone. I think also if you see that all the books are about cars, probably there is a market about it. So I'm not going to convince people. I just published it on Twitter and LinkedIn. I got over 1,000 pre-orders.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then it just forced. I promised that within a few weeks the book is out, but I had only one image and and a script with a lot of misspellings. So it forced me to work another 2 weeks on making it
Fixing,
to fix everything in full 2 weeks and running it through a lot of friends' children and
testing it.
Yeah, in English.
How they behave after.
Are they throwing the car of their parents, or they agree to still drive a car or only bicycle? And then I just put it out. I started getting pictures from people in New Zealand, Mexico, I got Iran. So I got a lot of nice pictures.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good job. So so you think like your advice is that, okay, just go for it and write.
Yeah, like your podcast, I guess you don't need to tell me the numbers, but I guess that your first episode had very little listeners.
Yeah, like first was my dad listening to it. He didn't understand Swedish, but he was like, okay, he said, I will listen to support you. Well, thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. But so then, nice. Of course, it's not compared to, I guess, to your numbers now when we publish this episode.
Yeah, that's like that's the thing. You did it because you thought it's cool. You probably listened to other podcasts.
Of course,
and you thought that Swedish is missing probably, I guess, or missing other voices. I thought you have a very unique voice on urbanism, which, I mean, we keep, we're getting the regulars all the time, and you bring another voice. So that was first that. Then you just kept doing it, and that's the most important, actually, to keep doing it because people are expecting. They
are like, how to say, they're following, so they're waiting for
they're waiting, they're expecting you.
Exactly.
So I guess that if you don't publish, they also ask you something.
They were like, what happened?
Like, I need it for my commute and I don't have it now. I listen to podcasts when I cycle to work and back. If a podcaster is not releasing their episode
you're like,
I'm like, well, you just ruined my commute. Now I need
you promised me every Monday.
Promised me every Monday for free content, and you don't give it to me.
Unfollow.
Yeah, then people just unfollow and find another podcast.
Yeah. So is your do you have any ideas for like next book?
Yeah, I want to write a book, but if someone will steal my idea, I will sue them. But I want to write.
But you want to do it more.
Yeah, I'm
because you like how like.
Yeah, I love how children. I just did a read in a school in New York. I did it online, but in a school with children that are on the autistic spectrum and children that are not. So it's a mixed class, and it was wonderful. The kids loved it so much, and also this mixed class. I mean, I would never end up speaking in such a mixed class in Brooklyn if I didn't write a book. And I gave a reading in a bicycle festival in Rotterdam with cute children.
Amazing.
And I'm going to write a book about my next book, and probably the last one because it's really takes a lot of energy. It's about kids that take over a street and actually build it for kids.
Okay, yeah.
So that's I already wrote the script, and then I'm done. Then I quit.
Then I'm famous. But tell me, like you have a children as a group because it's like a kind of easier to write, right? You don't need to write a scientific book back it up with so many numbers and statistics. It's like it's easy to do it.
No, actually, there was a podcast. I just forgot the name. Was it the Urbanist or the Urbanist from the Monocle or no?
Yeah.
No, so it's another podcast. I forgot the name. That doesn't go anymore. And there was a visitor there, interviewee, and he said that if it tries to explain an urban issue, it was an urbanist, but in general, it tries to explain a professional issue. It tries to explain it to a child.
Yeah.
And if you cannot explain it to a child, then the professional doesn't understand the problem. Because if you just use jargon and big words about your topic and start to add more and more jargon, it means that you probably are not really sure about your idea.
So you just like spam with so many numbers.
Yeah. And numbers and ideas, and then I thought actually it is really good to explain to children. So it's not the first time I do things with children, and also just speaking with I don't have children of my own yet, but children from my family and their friends about how they get to school and why they do it with a car or with a bike. Try to explain mobility in simple words, and not if you can explain it to children, you can also explain it with elderly, and you can also explain it to your family.
I'm following your work, and you love to work with data.
Yeah.
And tell a story based off data.
Yeah.
So give us some like a project that you work with based on data, and how do you work with data, and how do you collect data?
Yeah. So this is my passion. I used to be a computer programmer, so this is really my passion.
Really?
Then I realized that I need to change my work and not sit all day long behind the computer.
What do you do now?
Sit all day long behind the computer.
Yes.
But I changed the topic, right?
Yeah, at least.
No, and I think we need more programmers and people like that in urbanism because they can do amazing.
Yeah.
Especially those who are really good programmers. I'm far from that, but those who are really good, they know how to get things done.
Yeah.
And we also need urban planners that can script a little bit because they really many times just think in general in policy and they don't know how
exactly. I had a podcast episode with an urban tech company.
Oh.
And like we talked a lot, and very interesting. They do a very interesting job here in Sweden. And I like my conclusion from that episode that we need like now introduce a new a program maybe in a university, like the mix of programmers and planners, because like we need more.
And municipalities will use more and more data.
Yeah.
Now municipalities have the data, and this takes me to answer your question about the project. They have the data because they collect it. They are forced, even in some countries, to keep it open and public.
Okay.
And some of them actually even do it, keep it public. The others say that they are still working on it, but they don't know what to do with the data. And especially the people who actually can use this insightful, interesting data about public space don't have access to that. So you have the planners and the designers that could use so much information about how spaces are being used, or even how much times the traffic, the garbage cans are being emptied. This can tell so much about the use and the type of use of public space.
Yeah.
And they never have access to that.
But what kind of data are we talking about? Like, give us some examples.
So I will give you an example from a project we did, and I can give. In Rotterdam, the city wanted to make streets safer for walking and cycling. I guess it's like every city in the world.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of information about accidents, about complaints of people of where it's not nice to walk. They did a huge survey where people filled up answers about where they like to walk, where they don't like to walk, where it's safe to cycle, where they like to shop, where they like just to walk for fun, where they like to walk to work. They have information about any accident that happened in the city.
That's good.
Based on age and the type of vehicles that were involved in this accident. And they have all this information in a GIS system, which is Geographic Information System, that urban planners should be able sometimes to work with. And it is so much information that it's impossible to read. And then we thought we need to tell a story with that, right?
Yeah, because
otherwise you just
have so many actions.
Yeah, so many data points that mean nothing. They don't tell a story. And if you want to tell it to a politician or to a resident who is not a professional, it is impossible to do. So what we did is we started, okay, let's tell a story. We told many stories, but I will give you one example. We told a story about children walking to school. And we chose it because nobody can be against children walking to school.
So how do you do that?
So we thought, okay, we have all this data information about accidents and where children walk and where parents like to walk and not. Let's tell a story about how can we make all Rotterdamer children being able to walk to school without going through a dangerous road. So so that's a vision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then we started backcasting. So the first thing we did is finding all the streets around school that have accidents.
Yeah.
Then we used a model that the city already has to identify dangerous streets, and we added them. Then
just like from traffic safety point of view.
Traffic safety point of view. Then we took all the surveys. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of data points of surveys throughout the years. Most cities have this kind of databases that nobody knows how to even open. And then, it's a podcast, so it's very difficult to show, but we started building it as a storyboard with pictures, starting from the child going to school and then showing what they reach. And then from this human child perspective, if it needs to cross a road, it's like having a wall. Yeah. It just cannot cross. The child cannot cross a road that is 50 km per hour. And then we identified all the streets that, according to our story, should be improved. And then you end up also with a very simple sentence. You say something like, if you will fix, I'm just giving a number now, this 20 kilometer of streets, you will enable every child in Rotterdam to go to school safely. And then I mean, it's not even about right wing or left wing. Can any politician be against children going safely to school? I mean, it's...
I understand you. Yeah. Interesting. But like how... What is the key to do this? Is like reading data or understanding data? I mean, like, let's say we have planners and architects working with this. So what is the key to transform data?
So that was the first one is, okay, we have all this data and then we need someone who can speak both language. Many times, I mean, luckily I can program, I can work with data, and I also hope that I understand urbanism. So I can do both. But sometimes you just need two of those people in the room. A programmer, someone who knows how to do programming, and then someone who knows how to do urbanism or urban planning. But sometimes you also need to create the data from scratch. So this is a project we now work on, the good public space analysis. It's our realization that we collect data about public space, like I told you now, but it is not quality data enough to tell something about how people enjoy, interact with the space. And so we realized, okay, we can write all the code that we want, but if we don't have the basic data to tell about how people interact in public space, it will not work. So we just created a new way of collecting, observing public spaces, surveying public spaces, speaking with people, speaking with municipalities, creating a new sort of a database that is designed from scratch for different stakeholders in the municipality to be able to speak in the same language. So not only, for instance, there are a lot of databases about mobility, but then the people of public space don't understand it because it's in a mobility world, right? Or engineering world. And then there is data about maintenance, about garbage cans, but nobody from the mobility department knows about it. For instance, they don't know when garbage vehicles are coming to create a traffic jam because they need to stop.
Sure.
So we decided to create this tool from scratch in a way that it will be a discussion point between different stakeholders in words that are human and understandable, that also children can understand. Very, very simple word about a way to create good public spaces for people.
And in your journey of transforming data to stories and put together different disciplines, what are the challenges that you are facing?
I think that what you see with public tenders is that those things are hardly being asked.
What do you mean?
Tenders for projects. So when you have a project to redesign a street, you will never have a request
of
create a beautiful story about a child going to school.
True.
So you need to first be sure that you are actually delivering what was asked from you.
Like this analysis or the drawing, technical drawing or something.
Exactly. And then you can add to that your layer. But if the person from the municipality or from the government that is sometimes just wants things to get done the way they've always been going, it will take some time to convince, and many times you cannot convince, or they will not want to work with you because you're making too much changes of the way they used to work. And I respect also those decisions because municipalities, people working in municipalities are extremely busy with way too much projects, and they cannot rethink the world of urbanism every time. And that's why we also really try to, at least in my projects, I try to not reinvent the wheel. I mean, let's do what you wanted, but let's do it in more innovative, nicer, more accessible way to others, to residents, to other stakeholders. And the best way to sell a project is to have a successful project. Then you will have more.
Of course,
more people want this project.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Do you do you find there's like difficulties in convincing the people from municipality to change their mindset because they're very stressed, or because of like they don't want to risk the budget they have?
We are a rather small company, so we also are luckily working mostly with people that found us and want to work with us. So you end up working with very nice people
Nice.
that want to do a change.
Yeah.
But we did come across a lot of those kind of municipal workers or civil servants, is a better way to call it, that suffer in those organizations because they want to make a change and they don't manage because of budgets, because of and I think that maybe sometimes we said it a little bit jokingly, but actually I think it's a good idea to start a sort of support team between change leaders in municipalities to support each other, because they don't get the support within their team. So we don't come across, I mean, projects are difficult, but all projects, I'm not going to cry here, all projects are difficult. Even if you just build a bridge in a classic way, it's very difficult. The budget is never enough, and the timeline is never working. Even if you factor 20% more time before, it never works. And you always finish up at the last moment, and everybody's stressed and nobody sleeps. That's like
interesting. No, it's very interesting to have this conversation, and I would love to ask you, because you're a samhällsplanerare.
I'm a society planner.
Society planner. So, what do you think that urban planners should stop doing when they plan cities? Be friendly with your colleagues.
First of all, I think you should be. First of all, find a job where your colleagues have also humor and they are nice to each other, right? That's the first thing you should do. Or be nice to your colleague. I think that Jane Jacobs said it already 50 years ago. People are not going to use public spaces just because planners told them to do it. And she talked about these big parks that were built outside neighborhoods while ruining parks inside neighborhoods. And planners didn't understand, and architects didn't understand why nobody comes to those shady, dark parks outside of a neighborhood. And she said, people use places where they are, and that's where you need to build quality public spaces. So I think that urban planners have this amazing skill to create plans that many times also happen. So they actually create the world. They play SimCity. They many times forget that people are real. And I think they realize it only when their project goes wrong, or when a project comes in their neighborhood and they realize, oh, now nobody listens to us. It's horrible. I had it. I work in Rotterdam. I will not name the neighborhood where I live because then it might insult someone. But they changed my neighborhood, a street in my neighborhood. They asked for a change, for our opinion about the residents, for our opinion. I sent back my opinion, and they never answered to me. And then I sent back and I said, hey, I'm an urban planner, and I really think you made a mistake that is actually not according to the recommendation by the government. And they never answered to me again. So, and then I sent again and they say, oh yeah, sorry, we were really, 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 really busy.
What?
We wanted to answer you. And then they answered me and they were really nice. And I also understand, they probably got 100 messages and they could not even answer.
Okay, I understand,
So it's not their fault. Or it is maybe, because maybe they should have said from the beginning, we don't have time. Or it's not their fault and they just made a mistake. But I see how residents is being answered. And literally almost everybody I work with in the municipality are good people who try to do good. They just don't have time or
why they don't have time?
I don't know. I mean, I think with everybody who is not an urban planner or work in municipality, they always tell me, those municipal workers, they never do anything. They just go to home at 5. But
wait. We need to stop here because I hear exactly the same thing here. Let's say from people not working in the municipality. They say, from other people, they say, people from the municipality, they go to work at 9, they do coffee, they go for lunch, then they go home very early to bring their kids. And I see the same story there.
And but do you work with municipalities?
I do. I work with municipality.
And do you see this?
No, I'm not working at a municipality. With yes, but I don't see this. So I don't know why. Like,
I think because there is some, I guess that in the 70s, people in the municipalities really, at 5 o'clock you hear all the pens drop and everybody goes home. But it's just not true. I mean, first of all, good for them. Good work-life balance is very important.
Of course, yeah.
But I really see, I see the projects that they need to go through and the citizen participation processes that they go through. I mean, I was in in another Dutch city in the citizen participation process about a such unimportant playground, and the shouts that the municipal workers got from residents. I was like, oh my God, we need a psychologist in this room, because it's just not fair for anyone to have so much negativity about the playground.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, it doesn't really matter if the playground will be made of sand or of plastic. I mean, it's such a small issue at the end of the day, or not small, but it doesn't worth so much hate. And I think really the civil servants are really suffering, and then they have the pressure of ridiculous politicians giving them crazy promise crazy things. I mean, and of course in some cities it works much better than others. So I don't know, when I see it from the other side, I never worked from a municipality, but when I see it from the other side, I think there are a lot of good people trying to do this, and the system doesn't work somehow.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how to fix
it. So to summarize your answer, what urban planners should stop doing?
They should stop plan places according to their imagination and start using their skill and translate the wishes of people into reality.
Interesting. So, and this take me to the next question. What are the skills that urban planners should learn?
So we know what urban planners already learn, right? So we want to add to that. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we already touched analytics. I think very important, especially that a lot of urban planners are coming from the social world, especially like, for instance, society planning in Sweden was amazing that we had such a multidisciplinary team there. And adding to the mix skills like analytics, a little bit, just to understand the terms, to understand the notion, not hardcore. I would say storytelling, or especially visualization. And something I wish I learned or will learn to do one day is like sort of project management.
You mean like budget and timeline and stuff?
We learn in
resources.
Yeah, and it doesn't. You don't need to learn the profession at university per se, right? You can learn it later. But a lot of urban planners, also juniors, they get a project right away that they need actually to manage. They don't call themselves project manager, but they at the end of the day they get a certain budget.
Yeah.
And they have many stakeholders. So I see junior urban planners doing project management, which is a very difficult thing.
That's true, because we didn't have such course in urban planning.
No.
I had it when I did like architecture and engineering.
You had a project management course.
Yeah, and they talk about like how you plan and how much does it cost, and so, but not when we do urban planning program.
Then most urban planners, especially in Sweden, the Netherlands, they end up working for cities with public money, and they don't know anything about managing a project.
Yeah.
Using our tax money. So I guess they learn it at work. And courses, but it would be nice to have it at university
already. Exactly. Yeah, because like everyone when they start work, I think they got such kind of project management course, or like 2 days of this.
2 days is not enough.
Cool. More skills, or
more skills is or it's not a specific skill, but in general, I didn't learn at university design in general. I didn't learn design tools, and I just did everything by myself. So I did it by using a small website called YouTube. It's like
it's a big website now.
You just Google, you see tutorials.
Yeah.
We started with the EU, the EAT Urban Mobility Academy. We started many free courses. It's called urbanmobilitycourses.eu. And there you have a lot of courses about mobility and urbanism. So this is just one example, and it's all free. An example that there is so much courses, webinars, conferences, podcasts that you can just keep listening to. Sometimes it's also repeating itself, so you can stop, like I do sometimes. But I mean, basically every challenge on design or mathematics or statistics that I have, I just go to YouTube, and someone already made sure to answer.
By the way, you should send me later the links of the course.
Oh, absolutely.
Your book. What else? You have like a published project?
Yeah, I will send also our good public space tool that I talked before. I will just send you.
Send you some links.
I will spam you later.
I will not reply to you like the municipality. I will say I was busy. But okay, so next question is about if you're in charge of all cities around the world, and you are allowed to add one thing, Could be like a policy or a physical thing. So what will you add and why?
I will add probably the one simple thing that comes to my mind is a car-free day every week or every month.
Every week or every month?
In the Netherlands, in the 70s or 80s, they had the car-free Sunday when they had the oil crisis.
Okay.
So they didn't have enough. We might face this crisis very soon here as well. In Israel, they have the Yom Kippur holiday, which is once a year, where you're not allowed to drive. That's not enough. In South America, they have especially in Colombia, they have the Ciclovia every weekend, right? In Argentina. And I think that this is probably the one easy, nice thing you can do in the weekend, every weekend on Sunday or Saturday. Combine it with food, fun for children, maybe with a local church or mosque or synagogue. So you combine family time with society. You don't talk about mobility. You just say public space is open, and I think it changes the minds of a lot of people.
Wait, so you introduced the car-free day. It's because the CO2 emissions, or because the use of the cars, or what do you want to what message do you want to deliver with this action?
I think that this is the best way for people to experience how the city can look like without
cars.
I'm not saying that if we will introduce it the next day or the next year, everybody will support making car-free cities. But if you remove one day a year a car from the city, you cut by, I don't know, 10% the amount of driving. I mean, it's not a commute day normally, but people use the car a lot on the weekend as well. They travel fast. You also solve the fact that people try to run out of the city because it's not nice. You make it nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Inside.
Yeah.
You promote local businesses because they can get out there and put their food or what they want to sell outside.
Yeah.
It's good for culture. It supports small businesses. It supports vulnerable communities that suffer because mostly they are located also here in Sweden next to highways. The segregated neighborhoods are always end up miraculously next to busy, dangerous highways. So I think it's one thing that I think is completely fair, and it's something that literally, if cities from Bogota through Paris to Sydney manage to do it at least once, it's possible to do it.
Yeah, true.
Nobody has an excuse.
True. So now you have $1 million.
I do. Where are they?
Imagine. Let's see how you answer. You have $1 million, and you can invest it in an urban development project. Where will you put the money?
The most cost-effective way you can use. I'm looking at it only from cost effectiveness. Not from ideology. Would probably be walking and cycling. So if it's a city that already has good walking infrastructure, just build a bike lane. The bike lane will always return. It will return much more than any road or even any bus lane. Just bike lanes. And you can build a lot with €1 million.
That's true.
Yeah, a lot.
Dollar. It's almost like less. Okay. You're gonna miss 1 kilometer.
That's the missing link.
Yeah. Okay, so the money is not yours anymore. Sorry.
I made a lot of people cycle. That's good.
Awesome. So the last two questions, and the first one is going to be you giving me and the listeners 3 takeaway messages. How do we plan and design future cities?
Wow. So I already mentioned, understand what people want, but what they truly want, not just another lane of more parking spaces, but what truly they want, how they want to run their life, and try to translate it into policy and design. Number 2 is that we don't really need to reinvent a lot of things. For instance, with data, we already have a lot. We just need to reuse it. And number 3, and it is true, again, reuse. I mean, we have enough, we built enough, we have enough roads, we have enough public space, we have enough space. We just need to repurpose it. I don't think we need to make our cities, for instance, bigger, which can just densify them and make them nicer. For instance, I would say mostly listen to people and reuse what we already have.
Interesting. And the last question is going to be you asking it to me and to the listeners. What is your question to us?
I have one.
Tell me.
I would ask, if you had 1 million euro or even 10,000 euro and you could replace the parking spot outside of your house, what would you do there? And I would also actually ask it every citizen in the city, because we will learn a lot about what people want outside of the house and what they're missing outside of the house.
Thank you so much for giving your time to record this, and I'm happy to follow you and keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot. Stay in touch.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.